everybody, it's Kathy Champion with Random Acts of Crafting, and I am filming part 2 of supplies and things that you need for paper crafting. Now you can see a large amount of stuff on my desk because I pulled out some things that I thought would be some essentials that would take you like a step further than the first video where I showed you the bare essentials. This is going to be adding to your supplies as you go along. The one thing that you will need is some good ink. My two favorite basic black inks is VersaFine, and I use this for stamping all of my sentiments. If I'm going to color and I'm going to use alcohol markers, I always use Memento. There are other kinds of inks out there. There's StazOn, there's VersaFine Clair, which are colored inks that are made by the same company as VersaFine. I do like the Mementos. It doesn't give you as crisp a stamp as the VersaFine, but it will not move with your alcohol markers like VersaFine will. So I would say that these two inks are essential. The next thing is a variety of stamps. You want some stamps that are sentiments, as like this one. This is actually a Christian stamp, and it has God made this day, rejoice. And then it's got a further sentiment over here. May God wrap his comforting arms around you while he completes his perfection work in you. And so you can use these like outside the card and then this inside the card, and you can kind of mix and match what you need for sentiments. But there's lots of sentiments out there. I think a good one to have is ones that have sentiments like happy birthday, happy anniversary. I do have one. It's a larger stamp set. Let me pull that and I'll show it to you. It's called All Occasion. I think it's All Occasion. It is All Occasion. And this is a much larger stamp set, but it has like happy anniversary with sympathy, just a little note, best wishes, I love you, thinking of you, celebrate, good luck, just for you, so sorry, hello, get well soon, just because, thank you, happy birthday, season's greeting, you're the best. So there's a variety of sentiments on here that will fit most any card that you need to make. So this one right here is All Occasion. It is a great stamp set to have in your collection. But also stamp sets like these are from Bill and Tracy Phillips, mindlesscrafting.com, and these are the fall stamps. This is Happy Fall and Hello Fall. They have ones for Mother's Day, like this one, Mother's Day stamp set, and it has different sentiments for mom on here. But they also have other things on the stamp set, like the pot of flowers, the hat, the bicycle, the bow, a cup, which could be used for anything else, not just for Mother's Day. So those are always versatile stamps. Then you have ones like this that are just for the summer. This is a great versatile stamp that's all about you, and it has the word you in big print. And then it's got all these little ones like you got this. It's got different things on there that says like you are enough, you are beautiful, I choose you. So, and then it has these 3 or 4 little hearts, and it's got number 1, so you could do like you are number 1, which is another great set. And then there's some that are just for birthdays. There are some that are just sympathy stamps. This one right here is a birthday stamp. And so you would just, as you build your stash of stamps, you would want to have a lot of different stamps that you could go to for making your stamps or your cards or whatever you're making exactly what you need it to be. So that's another good rule of thumb. So I would say invest in some stamps that would meet your needs for what your cards you're making. And this is something that you will add as you grow in your paper crafting. You will add more stuff like that. The other thing would be markers. Now these markers right here are Tombow markers. They are excellent watercolor markers. These are water-based, so you don't have to be so concerned with these as far as them not working like alcohol markers. What you do have to be careful with water-based markers, you have to be very light-handed because they will wet the paper and cause the paper to roll. I've had people to ask me questions about that, and I always say you're just being a little too heavy-handed with your markers. If your paper is rolling, it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the paper that you're using. You could get watercolor paper that probably would work good, but it's not a smooth paper, so it doesn't stamp as well. So again, if you're using Tombow markers or any other kind of water-based markers, you need to be very mindful of the I guess the heavy-handedness that you have. Have a very light touch with those. Alcohol markers, on the other hand, and here's an example of those, and these are the Nouveau, which everybody, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I love the Nouveau markers. These are alcohol based, so you can really put a lot of color down on your paper without them being wet. They blend very well, they color well. I am a super fan of the alcohol markers for that reason. You do have to put something down on your work surface because they will bleed through. So just as a rule of thumb. Again, these are things that you would probably not invest in all at once. It's a gradual process. Even for me, I've been crafting for a few years now, and even for me, it's still an add-on process because it's almost impossible to get everything you need at one time. So you just add as you go. Another thing for coloring that is very affordable is colored pencils. These particular ones are put out by Nouveau, and I have the hair and skin tones. These are more of your basic colors, skin tones, flesh tones, the peachy tones, your yellows, your bronze, and then you also have your brilliantly vibrant, and these are more of your primary colors, your blues, your greens, your yellows and orange, those type reds. So these work very good because not only are they very good just to color with, you can actually watercolor with these. So you can put down some color and then take a watercolor brush and pull the color where you want it, and so that makes these very versatile for that reason. And again, these are not super expensive pencils. You can also just go with a plain set of colored pencils like these, and these are not watercolor. You can't move the color with these, but these are Sargent, and these pencils are great because they won't roll off your desk. They're not round, they have a flat edge on them, and they lay very stable, which is great when you're coloring, so your pencils aren't rolling around on you. So that's another option that you could have for coloring. Now, moving on from the color, I'm going to get into some other items that you probably could do well to have in your arsenal. If you use stamps, you would want to have something to clean your stamps with. We all grab our little wet wipes and wipe our stamps off, but to really do a good cleaning on your stamps, you need something like a squeaky clean stamp cleaner. This Brutus Monroe Squeaky Clean also comes with the scrubber, and this is the jumbo scrubber. It is nice because your pad will come out. You can take this to the sink, you can scrub it with some dish soap, clean it up, let it dry overnight, put it back into your container. I know that y'all have seen me use this, and I never keep it closed. I always put this under it like so. If you can get this loose, I usually just keep it like that on my desk because it makes it very easy to reach over and grab my Squeaky Clean and squeeze some, squirt some of that on my pad, and then rub my stamps off on it. So that's another thing that's great to have. In decorating your cards, another simple touch that you can use is little embellishments like these butterflies, these little crystal dots, gemstones. Here is some bling that just looks like rhinestones. Here's some solid blue, some black textured, and then of course your pearls. These are all different types of bling that you can use on your cards that makes them gorgeous and add so much to your items that you're doing. Now, if you want to go into a little bit more of an investment, you can buy dies. Now, with the dies, you're going to need to invest in some type of die cutting machine. Yeah, everybody's seen me use my Cuttlebug. They do not make these anymore. Cricut decided to do away with their Cuttlebug, which made me very sad because this is a great little die cut machine. You may still be able to pick one up at a discount store, maybe eBay, maybe even on Amazon. I don't know that if the Cricut store itself, www.cricut.com, if they still have any. They did have them on sale for like $59. These are just a great little die cut machine. There are plenty of other ones on the market. I know they have a Silhouette. No, not the Silhouette. I'm so sorry. I think it's called... the name totally leaves me, but I know there's an Empress. There is the Big Shot. There's the Sizzix makes a line of die cut machines. Everything from the Big Shot Plus, Pro, or just the simple little Big Shot that will meet most any of your needs. But any die cut machine is going to require dies. So these are the metal dies, and you've seen me use these. In fact, one of my videos just recently, I used this butterfly, and this is just my folder that says butterflies, and there are all kinds of, as you can see, I do have a tab on there that says butterflies, and there are so many different types of dies that you can get: circles, rectangular, squares, decorative edges, borders, there's words, I mean, it's endless. If you want to just look up thin dies or thinlet dies, you can see there are just bukus of them on the market, and they vary in price depending on what you get. Again, this is an investment. It's not something that you will accumulate overnight. It will take a while to build up a stash of dies, but they are wonderful to have, but they're no good without a die cutting machine. So just, you know, keep that in mind. If you do decide to buy dies, you need the machine first. The other thing that is an investment, but again so worthy, is a stamp positioner. A stamp positioner allows you to put a piece of paper in here, sit your stamp where you want it to stamp on your paper, and then pick it up with your stamp positioner, and this will actually grip the stamp, and then you can ink it up and stamp it. And if you're doing multiple cards, fronts or whatever, and you want to stamp the same thing, like thank you notes or invitations, anything like that, a stamp positioner is absolutely priceless. If you're working with a stamp that's hard to stamp and you need to re-ink it, anyone that's done any stamping knows how hard it is to get that stamp block positioned back over top of that stamp in the same position. When you're using something like this and you're stamping it, it is almost impossible to line it up. You can do it, but you're taking a chance of ruining what you've already done. This is a foolproof method, because no matter how many times, as long as your paper's in the same position, no matter how many times you stamp, it's going to hit in the same place that you stamped the first time. So these all come with a magnet that holds your paper in place, and this Misty comes in two different sizes. This one is the mini, but it does come in a bigger size as well, and they are phenomenal. I can't say enough of good things about the Misty. I'm trying to think other things. If you do, let's talk tape. Two kinds of tape that I use a lot is this sticky tape or purple tape or painter's tape. This is so nice to have, because when you're doing dies and you need that die to not move, being able to put down some of this low tack tape is really important. And both of these work about the same. I think the purple tape might be a little bit less tacky than the painter's tape, but they both work good. And if it's too sticky, stick it off on your shirt or your slacks, or even on your arm. Pick up a little bit of the oil out of your skin, and it will still hold your dye, but you'll still be able to pull it up without tearing your paper, and that's important. The other thing is two-sided tape. Two-sided tape, I think every crafter needs, and this is just a strong way of being able to put down adhesive onto a piece of paper, and when you pull back the backer off of it, it leaves the sticky on the back of your paper, so you can position it where you need it to be. And there's different brands, there's different thickness on the market, but all you have to look for is double-sided tape, and you should be able to find anything like that. Sometimes you will see people use what they call red line tape, and that's this type of tape right here. This is not a tear and a stick and tear tape. These white ones are, but this one's not. You will have to use scissors to cut it. So just wanted to let you know that as a rule of thumb. But those are really good kinds of tape. The other thing is an ATG gun, and this will put down adhesive onto paper, and it doesn't have a backer on it. And so once you put this down on the back, say if you're going to mat a card onto your card base, you've already decorated your card, and you will just roll this across the back of your card. And these are refillable guns. You open them up and you just drop in your refill here, you wind it onto here, feeding it through your gun. And this is an economical way to use your two-sided tape without it being two-sided, if that makes any sense. But I do like my AGT. I did not like it at first, but I mean ATG. I'm so bad with doing the letters on anything. The other thing that is an investment are these crocodiles. I think these are put out by We Are Memory Keepers, and I have 3 of the ones that do the corner edges of your paper. This one here is a corner rounder, and all this does is it rounds the corner of your paper. And let me see if I can get a little scrap of paper and I'll show you what I mean. If you needed to have a rounded corner, and it does a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch, and you would put your paper in here, but you really have to hold your paper to get that angle that you would want on it, or to round that corner. These are not foolproof, and it is a learning curve in learning how to use it. But it just rounds off the corner of your paper. This one does the same thing, but it's an angle punch. So if you put this in here, it's going to give you an angled punch. So it's going to be like a tab. That's the small one, and here is the larger side. So you have a large angle and a small angle. And if you do both sides of that, this would be a makeshift tag. You'd punch a hole right there and you would have a tag. The other one is actually a little bit different in the fact that I'm going to cut one end of this off and show you. This one is a scallop and a stub punch. And I love this one for doing decorative edges on things. I think it's beautiful. It gives you that one on one side, and it gives you the scallop. That was the stub, and this is the scallop. And 2 different punches all in one piece. It holds your trash inside of it so it doesn't dump it out on your work surface. And if I can figure out how to open this one, well, they all open the same. So this one has been used and it opens very easily like that. And then you just dump this out into the trash and dump your little pieces out. So those 3 items basically does corner edging. There is one more crocodile that I have that actually is a hole puncher and a rivet setter, and that's this one. And again, you can see they have the We Are Memory Keepers logo on the side. This is your smaller hole and your larger hole for punching, and then right here is your which will set a eyelet. So this tool is like a 3-in-1, and you do have this wonderful little edging right here that will allow you to slide that back. So if you wanted to do a hole punch and you wanted it to be at the same place on every tag, this would be what you would use, and you could get that perfect little hole every time on your tags. So I think these are just really neat to have, and I use them a lot. I mean, they are something that I reach for almost every time I craft. I'm reaching for one or the other of these corner punches or the hole punch. So, and these are all called crocodiles, but they all do something different. So those would be my next items that I would say was important to add to your supplies. Punches are also something else that we can cover. I like the EK Success punches or EK tools, and punches come in all different types and sizes. Let me pull some out of here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But you can find anything from a scalloped punch like this. This is a 2 1/4 scallop punch. They go all the way into your circle punches. This is a 2-inch circle punch. And you can go down as small as a 1/4-inch circle punch. I'm sorry, that's a 3/4 circle punch. These are great punches and you can use them for so many things. The 3/4-inch one, if you do a half of this, it will give you the perfect little place for a pull tab. Like if you go in about halfway and punch that, then you have a perfect little tab punch if you wanted to put a pocket on something and have a place for your tag to be able to be pulled out. There are just endless possibilities with your punches, and you know that this is another thing. You start out with 1 or 2 and you add. Very seldom do I ever buy a square punch because I feel like squares are unnecessary in the punching, because you can cut a square using your paper trimmer. So I kind of avoid those, because I know if I've got an inch or an 1.5 inch piece of paper and I cut it at 1.5 inches, I'm going to have a 1 inch or a 1.5 inch square. So I kind of stay away from those. I do have some dies that are square, and I do that because it's nice to be able to cut a square window out of the front of a card if you're doing shaker cards. So again, there's all of these endless possibilities that you can do and have with your paper crafting. It's not to say you have to have any or all of these, but as you start evolving in your paper crafting, you will want to add little at a time a few things, you know, to make your crafting easier and prettier. So these were just some of the things that I was thinking of as I was thinking of what you would need, and some things that you would want to add. You know, there's so many other things. There's jewel drops and stickles and things like that. There's I haven't even touched on embossing, because I'm going to devote an entire video on embossing, because I don't feel like it's something that can be covered in just a quick video like this. But I did want to go over these particular items with you today. I hope that is helping some people if they're kind of lost with what they would need to start crafting or to continue crafting. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back with you as soon as I possibly can. I usually see the comments as they come in. That's my little dog again. He's